is the standard by which we are to judge. And so Job's friends came, they came judging after unrighteousness, after their own standards. And verse 12, and when they lifted up their eyes afar off and knew him not, they lifted up their voice and wept, and they rent every one his mantle. And so, here they are coming to see Job, and they saw him from a distance, but they knew it was him, but he looked so different. I mean, he was in bad shape. And so it said that they lifted up their voice and they wept and sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great. They simply did not know how to respond. I mean, he was covered in boils. His condition just looked, it was mind-blowing. And so they did not know how to respond. And so for 7 days and for 7 nights, they sat upon the ground with him in ashes as a sign of mourning with him, and said not a word. Now in chapter 3, after this opened Job his mouth, and cursed his day. And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which it was said that there is a man-child. Let that day be darkness. Let not Elohim regard it from above, neither let the light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death stain it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. Let them curse it that curse the day, who are ready to raise up their mourning. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark. Let it look for light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawning of the day, because it shut up not the doors of my mother's womb, nor hid sorrow from mine eyes. Now I want to pause there for a second. You see, now this is what we see happening with Job, and it's something that that we can easily fall into if we're not careful. Yes. Job, when he opened his mouth, I mean, he had been silent for some time. Okay? He had been silent for a very long time. He had lost his children. He had lost everything that he had. And then now he's being afflicted personally. And it's an affliction where it's like torture. He's not dying, but he's suffering. And so the servant of Yah begins to lash out. And because of this suffering, Job became so focused on himself, okay, because of his suffering, that he forgot that there were other people that was born on the day that he was born on. Ooh. You see? He said he wished that that day never existed. He asked that those who cursed the day, for them to curse the day. He wanted that day wiped off the calendar. Because for a moment, for a moment, he forgot that, well, you know what, I wasn't the only person born on that day. So what he is saying is, you know what, erase everybody that was born on that day, including myself. Now, that wouldn't be just. It wouldn't be justified, you see. And so in the midst of his anguish, in the midst of his suffering, it was taking a toll on the servant of Yah. And he said, cursed be the day on which I was born. Yes, he was in a low place. But yet Yah understood. But because even though he said that, he asked that the day be cursed, but yet he never cursed Yah. You see, he never turned his anger towards his creator. You know, and too often, many, not understanding what they're going through, turn their anger toward the creator. Yeah, absolutely, I agree, Cody. He was getting depressed without a doubt. And so did, absolutely, so did Moses, so did the prophet Elijah. Elijah went into a cave. He was depressed. They were depressed, you know. Jonah became depressed for a different reason, of course. But you know, it's common for, yes, and he had not the ruach. He had not the comforter in him, and that's the difference between them and us today. You see, we have the comforter, we have the ruach in us. He strengthens us. He enables us to rise above our sufferings, to rise above these afflictions. Yeah, they had it not in them. You see, it's a very, very good point. And so, you know, yes, he was getting depressed. He was getting sorrowful. And he asked that this day be cursed, so you know. It's simple for us to feel this way. No, it's not. We must be careful, though, not to become complainers. And again, what we've got to do, the scriptures tells us that we must cast our care on Yahuwah, okay? And lean not on our own understanding. And what we'll see as we continue to read through the book of Job is that Job had started trying to figure this thing out himself. And that is why Yah began to question him. Okay, and so you know, Yah asked him, so okay, you have all these complaints. Tell me now, where were you when I created Orion or Pleiades, or do you know where the snow is stored? And he asked him, he went on to ask him all kinds of questions because Job had begun to lean on his own understanding. And if the iron that came and sharpened him, like iron's supposed to sharpen iron, then they probably would have been able to bring him back absolutely from the door, and he would have asked all those questions that he was asked. Yes, absolutely. So, you know, my wife just pointed out, see, the reason why Yah gives us each other, the reason why he gives us friends, brothers and sisters in him, is so that we can be there for one another, so that we can sharpen one another. As iron sharpeneth iron, so doth the countenance of a man's friend. And so if Job's friends were doing what they were supposed to be doing, then he would not have gotten to this low state. He would not have gotten to this low state. But instead, what they brought condemnation. They were telling him, accusing him of things that he didn't do, and explaining to him that this is why you're going through what you're going through. But you know, it's nothing wrong with feeling depressed, with feeling burdened. But it's what we do with those things. It's what we do with our depression, with our burdens. It's what we do when we feel afflicted. We've got to cast our cares on him. Not have the woe is me. Right. Actually do a mirror test. Exactly. To find out whether or not you have done something. And so, you know, as my wife said, not to, as she says, not have the woe is me. You know, not begin to make it seem as if, well, I'm the only one who ever go through. Never go right for me, and on and on. That's the attitude that kept our forefathers in the wilderness,